Hello! This week on 5 Brilliant Things, we have the fantastic Sindhu Vee.
The only time my dad saw me do stand-up was with my mom, and I'd gone. It was early days. I died. People were looking at their watches, and I was mortified. My father looked at me and he said, I think some of your humor was too intellectual for the audience here. And as we were leaving the restaurant, my mother turned to him and she said, too intellectual? They don't understand comedy. I spit on them. Pooh! And she spat on the threshold.
Wow.
And we left.
She's like Charlie Murphy to your Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, so I pulled out the shoebox and I sat on the side of her. She was busy. And I opened it and there was a gun in it. I said, what's this? She turned on. She said, Smith & Wesson. And I was like, oh, do you have the bullets? Without even turning, she went, Tsh. And I was like, ow. My father tells my mother, and he never used to raise his voice, that's enough. And she says, this is all your fault. You're raising a meat eater. As it is, she's so ugly. She's going to have a hard time getting married, and now she eats meat. And she leaves the dining table.
Hello, Sindhu. What an absolute joy to meet you.
It is an absolute joy. Like I told you, I think I know you. I think we've met, but I've only really just seen you on TV.
Yeah, but that's absolutely fine. Well, same. I've only ever seen you on the telly. And now we're here together in a room, in a lovely air-conditioned room,
I know.
in a quite a muggy, sweaty London.
Yeah, and with Dishoom just 2 doors down.
Yes, there's a lovely waft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have to have hot drinks in hot weather.
Yeah, it's really interesting just seeing, like, there's lots of people outside having kind of, like, naan. I think you can get, like, a bacon naan kind of curry start. Yeah, work, so.
I've never even eaten bacon, but I think it sounds great.
Yes. What is your first brilliant thing?
My first brilliant thing is the ability to cry, like properly, like someone I love has just died, cry on demand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that brilliant?
Well, it was brilliant for my childhood because I got I got my sibling and my cousins in trouble like this. And I was I was the youngest. I was a runt. Literally, I was tiny. My mother used to say things to me like, oh, if you don't become a bit more healthy, we'll give you a pen and put you on the road, like to beg. It's literally how I used to look.
Right.
And of course, my mom never minced her words. She was like, that's what you look like. And so I often was bullied, by everybody, starting at home with my sister. And the ability to cry like something truly devastating has happened, and all she would do is like take my pencil. It was a power move, but like with snot and everything.
Right.
And in fact, she used to call me Taps because I had taps behind my eyes.
Wow.
It was such a great thing. And then for many years, I didn't need it because you don't need that in the real world.
Yes.
And then I got married. Okay. Oh, in those early years, you just even begin it. Your spouse is like, I am sorry. Oh my God. Like they don't realize that it's affected you that much. It hasn't. But it's like, why didn't we go to that restaurant?
Yes.
And then they think it's something deep. Maybe it's childhood trauma, but it just very quickly clears the ground,
So it's kind of like a superpower.
It is. And the other person always feels bad.
Are you slightly worried now that you've let your secret out that your husband will look back at your marriage with fury?
Well, and what's he going to do?
No.
What's he going to do? Leave? What's he going to do?
So not only do you have the power of tears, but you also have the power of confidence.
I do. Look, man, it's been 27 years. What's he going to do?
Exactly. Go on, walk.
Yeah. No, but also what...
And then just as he walks...
Yeah. But also, it's like now like now after 27 years, you know how flawed your partner is. You think he doesn't know I've been manipulating him.
Sure.
So then now it's...
Do you think he has manipulative powers?
100%.
Right. What are his? Oh, my back.
Silence.
Oh, silence. Okay.
I don't like it.
No. It's a real power, isn't it?
It's such a power.
Yeah.
It's a power of withdrawing.
Yes.
Which drives me out of my mind.
And are you a gabbler? You strike me as someone that's very chatty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I've already been babbling so much I've hardly met you.
But when you're, because I'm the same, but when you're with people who are like comfortable, it's very interesting that you, even in your head, you find yourself going, "Stop talking, Russ." You just, do you know what I mean?
So many times.
And they just have that kind of energy to be like, I'm fine, just being quiet.
Yeah, and I'm so envious of them.
Yeah.
No, I mean, so many different therapists have told me that They're like, just be in the silence. And I'm like, so what does the silence mean to you? They're like, stop talking.
Yeah.
And I once had a very Freudian type of therapist, and I had to leave her because she kept saying, well, but what are you saying to me? And I'm like, I don't understand, Annie. I come here and pay you to tell you what I think of you. Bro, this doesn't work. But anyway, she had a big problem with me not being silent.
In that situation, the desire you must feel to go, Annie, are you okay? Yeah. It must be so difficult.
Actually, to sing it.
Yeah, exactly. So have you had a lot of therapy then?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
My mother was a therapist. I was in non-consensual therapy from 14.
See. Well, but all we know of your mum thus far is that she threatened you
all the time
with begging unless you got healthy. So
time.
she was a therapist. So
no, she became a therapist later in my life because she was like, well, I think a lot of therapists are like, what is wrong? And then they go and then they find out that, I think a lot of therapists are the ones who are like, oh, there's something very wrong with me. Let me help others. I've just stopped with there's things wrong with me. I'm sorry, I cannot be bothered with others. Let me help myself.
And was part of did doing stand-up come out of the therapy? Do you think it was sort of this, no, you okay,
no,
fine.
I don't think so.
Okay, you just, because you had a job and a career beforehand, and then that's what I was saying, like, were you happy in that, or were you unhappy?
I loved it.
So what was the
catalyst? I had a kid, and if you're on a trading floor, especially in London because of the time zone, especially in my job, which was flow bond sales, you got to work before Japan closed and you left lunchtime New York. I used to leave the house at 5:45 and get home at 7:30, and I had a baby. And I thought I'd get nannies. I did get a nanny, and it'd be like this hotshot MD with 4 kids and 4 nannies. I never thought I'd be that maternal. I wanted to be around the baby, which my mother thought was so lame. She was like, you will be just housewife, dependent on husband. Chee! But I was like, yep, that's what I'm going to do. So, it's not... And I was lucky I could. I think a lot of women feel like that, but they can't because there's financial issues.
Yeah.
But my spouse was still in finance and we were young. So we didn't have, we had no debt and all that jazz. We hadn't. So I think that was, it's not a very mystical reason. I just missed the baby so much.
So you were.
And I stayed at home for 13 years. I had a couple more kids because that's what you do.
Yeah. So do your kids now, presumably they're older, do they get to come and watch you do stand-up?
I mean, if they wanted to, they have not come. One was forced because there was a babysitting issue.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I can't believe I have to be here. But no, they don't. You see, it came so late to me. And it wasn't something I'd never seen live stand-up when I'd started it. So it's not that I ever talked about. It's not like I thought I would be there was no, I didn't know people who were in entertainment or performers. And I had the first boyfriend I had, in India, which was such a secret because my mother, if she'd found out, she'd have killed both of us. He is now an actor. But at the time,
I like her.
She does not play, let me tell you, man. So the kids it wasn't in the universe. And so when I started, I never talked about it. I didn't tell anyone in the beginning. My husband didn't know. I used to just say, he would be traveling and I'd say, I'm going out and then go and gig. So I think by the time it became something, they didn't really think about it. Now with Matilda and the movies, and now they're like, oh. But then also they're a bit annoyed. I remember when I first did QI quite a while ago, my son came home from school and said, the science teacher asked me about you on QI. And I was like, oh, and he's like, why do you have to do that? So, it wasn't something that they necessarily, I'm just their mom.
Can they cry on demand?
Oh, good question.
No. One of them cries too much, but it's not on demand. So it's a bit like, well, this is not a superpower. You're falling apart all the time. Fix it.
I see.
Yeah.
So you were, so do you ever actually cry?
Oh, yes, I cry a lot.
Yeah, sure. But I don't know whether this is actual tears.
No, it's actual tears. Because also recently, in the last few years, I've had a lot of, my mother, my sister, and my father all passed away within a year of each other out of nowhere. And it was like, what?
Yeah.
So that just made me feel like jelly. But also, the crying superpower, I don't use it so much. It's been a long time because you use it when you're feeling bullied or when you feel like you have no other tools. But as you grow up, you learn other tools. You learn to have a conversation with your spouse as opposed to just trick them into, earlier stuff. I haven't used that for a very long time. I did have to use it sometimes in 2 of the acting things.
Oh, wow. That's pretty handy, though.
That was so handy. They were like, oh my God. And as soon as I stopped, I was like, what's for lunch? I didn't care.
And you should try it with a heckler sometime.
It would work. It's really just like full on sobbing.
Yeah.
And just to have some guy go, oh, I'm really sorry. I'll take it back. I didn't know. Yeah, it would work, eh? How are you finding acting? Are you enjoying that?
I find acting very seductive. Very seductive. So my relationship with it is complicated in the sense that I'm never myself, which is so seductive because you really can drop everything and go do this thing. The thing about acting that I'm uncomfortable with is how outside your control it is to act.
Yes.
You know, as a stand-up, you're like, okay, I'm going to go and try this material if it works. And then if you keep on working at it, eventually you'll get somewhere. You'll have an hour. You'll take it out. Acting, you just wait for the phone to ring. I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I don't like sending tapes and tapes and tapes and you don't hear back because, but do I like acting? Yeah, I like it as much as I do it. I don't think I would ever fully turn into act. You know, that has been suggested and I've said nope.
Yeah.
Because stand-up is my home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing for me. It's so fulfilling. Because you get to act, you get to write, you get to direct, you get to produce. You know, you are kind of a one-person band.
Yes, and I think that's what I did for so long. And then when you go into acting, and I have a lot of respect for writers, but you're like, this line just sounds ridiculous. It's not funny. And you don't have the kind of clout where you can be like, please, hello, what is this?
Yeah.
So that can be awkward. Also editing, you know, you can be in a thing and then it's gone. But like I say, it's seductive. It's like going to Galapagos Islands or something. You don't know what's going to happen, but it's kind of interesting and there might be a giant turtle. It's like that. Whereas stand-up is home. I know where everything is.
Have you ever swam with giant turtles?
No, but I've seen them in rivers in India, but I never swam because our parents didn't let us swim because they'd be like, if you swim, you drown, which is so weird. And then you come to the West and everyone can swim. I'm like, how are these people alive?
Yeah.
My mother used to say, if you get in the water, you will be dead. Good luck. So I never got in the water.
Yeah, my uncle was a bit like that. He had a real thing. He was like, don't go in the water.
Yeah.
You up this is a leisure centre. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's not late. No, you'll flip and die.
Exactly.
There's a lifeguard there, you maniac.
No, but we had to learn. I was briefly in an American school and we had to learn swimming. And my mother was like, I can't believe I'm paying fees for them to potentially kill you. So what I learned with having kids is they pick up the talk. I'm petrified. And now I'm married to a Scandinavian. They're constantly jumping into freezing water.
Yes.
And so if I can't touch the ground of a ocean, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do that to my kids. So they're all like water puppies. They'll go in any water, swim. I'm like, great.
You'll only go near a lagoon.
If that.
Yep.
If that. I'll be on a boat and look at the water, but I don't. And they like to go on boats in the middle of the ocean and say, oh, look, Sardinia, look at the water. It's blue-green. Let's jump in. I'm like, are you insane? And then I cry when they're all in the water. I sit there and cry. Not fake tears, true fear.
What, really?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Wowzers.
Don't like
so
it.
that's just trickled down from your mum, I guess.
Yeah, and also from having siblings that hold you under the water.
Oh, Jesus.
That's not fun.
Yeah. What is your next brilliant thing?
Free Bibles.
Free Bibles. Okay.
So I just thought it was very funny because
From tears to saviors.
it was because you said 5 things and that make you think of something great. Okay, so it's the mid-90s. I'm in Canada doing one of my degrees, graduate degrees. My mother has decided to visit because she wants me to get married.
She's back.
She's come. She's said to me, I miss you. I want to spend time with you. She comes with a briefcase of arranged marriage proposals, right? Because I'm 24 and as far as she's concerned, like she said.
You're on the turn.
Yeah. She said to me, you are not old maid on shelf. You have fallen behind the cupboard.
Yeah.
Like, I'm dead. I'm minutes from death and, anyway.
Exactly.
So she doesn't tell me. And so we have a massive row because I say to her, they were all arranged. So like sending me on a date. But I was like, I'm doing a PhD and why did you bring these proposals? Who are these boys? And she said, well, you have to meet them to see. Anyway, massive row. But then we made up our row. And the way that my mother often, you knew that she was done, like she wanted to make up was she would cook. She's a great cook. So I used to teach a undergrad class because you had to earn money to be in school. So she would come with a little tiffin box of like all my favorite food. And she'd come and there was a massive lawn, this at McGill University, massive lawns around the campus. And my mother had a nap every day of her life in the afternoon. I'd I tell you what I mean, every day, every day. So I would come out for lunch, but before that, she would have a nap. And then when I came, she would put out this picnic. One day I came, and this is the summer, so it's a different time on campus. One day I came out, and she had a Bible with her. And I said, "What's this?" And now, just for context, my mother used to, she did drug and alcohol therapy in India, in Delhi, and she used to send a lot of her patients, and she herself used to go to the Alcoholics Anonymous meeting in what was called the Free Church of Delhi. Mm-hmm. Just put that in your back pocket. So she said, "Oh, this is a Bible." And I'm like, "No, I know it's a Bible. Where is it from?" She said, I said, "What?" She said, "No, but it was here." I'm like, "It wasn't here." She said, "It's free." I'm like, "What is it?" She said, "Okay, but don't scold me." I said, "No, I won't." She said, "Every day I sleep here, and one lady, I hear her going to different people sitting and saying, 'Do you know Jesus Christ? Lord loves you.' And they say, 'No, thank you, no, thank you.' And she had a big box with her. And I would watch her every day. And then I realized she wants to give the Bible to people. And in free church, all the Bibles are torn. So I wanted one Bible. Obviously, this lady was trying to convert everyone, And so then she said, and I was sleeping, and when she came to me, she said, "Excuse me." And I said to her, "Do you know Jesus Christ, Lord, loves us all?" And she began crying. And I said, "Yes. Do you believe in Jesus Christ?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "I also believe." "Oh, how lovely." And I had conversation with her, and she gave me a free Bible.
Lovely.
I'm like, "Ma, now what?" She said, "No, we are going to meet every day. And every day I will ask her nicely, 'Can I have Bible?'" She took 24 free Bibles off this lady by telling her, "Jesus Christ is our savior. You have been saved." This is a devout Hindu, my mother. Mm-hmm. The idea that you would swindle free Bibles off a lady who's trying to convert you, which is just bizarre anyway, it's kind of a double whammy.
Yes.
And then my mother said to me one day, she said, "What time are you going for shower?" And I was like, in our apartment. I said, "Why?" She said, "I think you should wash your hair. It's very dirty, And I used to have very long hair. So I was like, anyway, she had told this lady that I'm living in an apartment with a girl who does not accept Christ. And I want her to accept Christ, but I want to give Bible to her family. So she brought a crate of Bibles. Wow. But my mother knew that I'd be like, "Who's this lady?" Yes. So she asked me to have a shower for a long time. So when the lady rang the bell, she said, "And you cannot come here. She's very, very, that kind of right-wing Hindu." Yeah. She made me a Hindu fascist and took these Bibles. She went home to India with 70 Bibles.
Wow. So what I love about that is she arrived with wedding proposals
and left with free Bibles. But can you believe it?
The scanners at Delhi airport must be like every time your mom go, like, you won't guess. You never know what it's going to be. Yeah. So where did these Bibles end up?
All at the Free Church.
Fantastic. What an absolute swindler. I love her.
But they were beautiful. Like they had like gold on the top. And she just was like, there's such torn up Bibles. And this lady is trying to give them away. And everyone is saying, "No, thank you, no, thank you."
And she knew where they would.
Yeah, my mom had nothing to do with Bibles, but she had listened for a week and then laid a trap. And this lady fell in the trap. She kept coming and giving us Bibles. And I was some kind of Hindu fascist. So my mom was like, "We really have to help her."
Yeah.
The thing with my mom was she was utterly fearless. Utterly fearless. But also I was like, "Ma, there's so many lies in this." And she used to say, "Path to God is not straight." And then she got so much kudos. You think she told the people at the Free Church that she got these for free?
Wait, what was the scheme she told them?
They've probably been like, "I'm so generous. Even as a Hindu, I believe so much in your faith." Yeah. And she did in a way, because she wanted them to have nice Bibles.
It's a really sweet, and in many ways, she's like the religious equivalent of Robin Hood. That she's...
But Robin Hood didn't take credit. My mom would have been like, "Look at me. Oh, I went abroad and look what I did for you." And I would say to her, "Mom, why do you have to take the credit?" She said, "Who should I give? The neighbor, the credit." Yeah. "It's my credit." I'm like, "All right, fine."
Yeah, no, I like it.
Complex.
But fascinating as well. Very, very cool. So presumably now, every time you see a Bible, you're reminded.
I always think of that.
Yeah, movie. They're really. It's so fascinating, isn't it? That if you're lucky enough to have spent a long time with somebody and you have all those memories, when something jolts you back to them. So for you, seeing a Bible is like this beautiful, suddenly you're on the lawn at McGill, you're having those tiffin meals, you're kind of laughing and talking with your mum.
Yeah.
So you moved around a lot then?
A lot. Well, a lot. Delhi, then then Philippines, then back to India. But it was very from 4 to 11. I was in the Philippines. I didn't speak Hindi. I just spoke English and Spanish, I think. So when I came back to India, I was completely like some kind of foreign kid with an American accent who didn't speak Hindi. Again, back to being bullied fully.
Yeah.
And I went to a convent then, so that was very different than the American school.
Yes.
How strong was the expectation for you to take up one of these arranged dates?
100 on 100 from my mother. But it wasn't, you have to remember, arranged marriage came second to education.
Right.
So as long as I was studying and I was doing grad work and I was on fellowships and they were good universities, my parents would never. But she kept sliding the idea in, not to leave my studies, but she found boys in Canada, found boys doing political science and thought, well,
and how did she find them? How does that process go?
friends, and then there's this matrimonial ads. And because my height is a huge issue in India, so there was like a very narrow group of people that would agree.
Why was your height an issue?
I'm 5'10". In India, that's like from the circus.
Why,
The national average height for Indian women is 5 foot.
Right.
I'm very tall, and I was very dark, and that's another thing. Yeah, but it was fine. I didn't care. All of us girls in our family or in families like ours, our parents, they had this background thing. She's too short. She's too fat. She's too tall. She's not dark enough. Her brother is not a good enough boy. The family, that's always going on in the background.
And are the boys judged as harshly?
No, they're judged not.
Right.
As my mother once said to my husband, because I was complaining about she was complaining to me. She was sitting at the table. My husband and my mother my mother loved him and he loved that. He's an only child, so he knows how to take adoration from a parent. And my mother was saying, put oil in your hair, you're becoming a bald. And my husband he's Scandinavian, so he said, oh, Mrs. Vee, but I'm going to be bald. She said, doesn't matter, you are a boy. Full stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thinking.
So what is this, like, where does that come from? Just that, it feels like you've slowly moved through lots of things and achieved. Have you always felt like you have to be a high achiever? Yeah.
I was kind of a
through a personal desire or kind of
family stuff.
Yeah.
But if you do it, if it starts early enough, and I don't think I'm the only South Asian who feels this way. It starts early enough, it becomes fused with who you are.
Yeah, of course.
So it's
and a nice thing, really. Ultimately, like.
I mean, to me, this like I say to my kids, even though they're not Indian, it's like, what is your purpose if you're not doing well? What is the point of you? Lots of people are born. So it's always, especially if you have resources, do something and do something and then be an asset in the world. What are you doing? And if you can't, you don't have to be an asset in the big world. Be an asset to yourself.
Yes.
Make yourself financially independent and do something with your brain,
Yeah,
and the kids are always like, you sound like it's so black and white. It is black and white.
What is your next brilliant thing?
Fake hot dogs.
Fake hot dogs. Okay. What?
My mother's going to come out very bad from this story.
What? Are we talking like 7-Eleven hot dogs? Those?
No, you cannot understand. So we're in the Philippines.
Right.
We're a Hindu family. My parents are Brahmins. I mean, I'm a Brahmin, so we don't eat any meat.
Right.
Not allowed. We're in a Western environment. Everyone's eating meat. My sister, who's much older than me, lies to my parents and eats meat at school, and I know that. But partly because I'm like the annoying little sibling, I decide I'm going to discuss it with my parents. So I come home and everyone's eating hot dogs. At that time in the Philippines, Marcos was president. So there was the Philippines and then there was the American bubble. They had all their military bases there.
Yeah.
So I was at the American school, so it was very American. You had Rocky Road ice cream and, this kind of thing. I come home one day, probably 5, 6, and say, I want to eat hot dogs. And my mother looks at me and says, shut up, I'll slap you. That's that conversation. My father's at the dining table and he says, now. He was much more like calm. Yeah. He was like, now. And he said to me, why is it? And I said, all the kids eat it. Yeah. I had never seen a hot dog, but I'd heard about them because we didn't get packed lunch. We got school lunch. I don't remember what a hot dog is in my mind. I just say, I want to eat a hot dog. And my father says, I'll make you a hot dog this weekend. He then makes me what is essentially a club sandwich.
Yeah.
It's got lettuce, cheese, tomato, and my sister's like, ugh, and she leaves. But she knows better than to contradict my father because he's obviously trying to get me to believe. I believe this is a hot dog. I eat it. It's yummy. It has ketchup. Every day, my dad comes home from work. He makes me a hot dog. Great. I never bring it up again. I never talk about it at school. In my head, now this may show you how dumb I am. I thought I'm eating hot dogs. That's my mother went back to university. So Mrs. Deshpande, my mother's friend, used to pick us up from school, like on a 1 day a week. They ate meat. We got to their house one day and she said, "Oh, kids, would you like hot dogs?" And we all went, "Yay." She puts this thing in front of me and I'm like, "What's this?" She's like, "It's a hot dog." I'm like, "No, it's not." Mrs. Deshpande, this is the 80s. She says to me, "Be quiet and eat your hot dog." I eat this thing. It's kind of different. So then I get home that evening and I tell them that Mrs. Deshpande's made a hot dog and it was very different. My father immediately looks concerned and my mother looks at me and says, "Did you eat it?" I say, "Yes." She then gets up and slaps me so hard across the face and says, "How dare you?" I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
My sister starts laughing because she knew this was going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
My father tells my mother, and he never used to raise his voice, "That's enough." And she says, "This is all your fault. You're raising a meat eater." As it is, she's so ugly. She's going to have a hard time getting married, and now she eats meat. And she leaves the dining table.
So presumably your sister is laughing really hard at this point.
'Cause
It couldn't have gone better.
I know. And I have no idea what's happened. I
Wow.
did not ask for or think about a hot dog for the next 20 years of my life.
Yes.
My children, because my husband's Danish, they eat pulsa.
Yeah.
And every time those kids get a hot dog, I'm like, because she got up and she just smacked me, which she used to do. But I literally spun and everyone had a different reaction. My sister was laughing. My dad got annoyed. She turned around and told my dad what she thought of him and she left. I was like,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. Just and all you did was followed orders.
Exactly.
Because another adult who could have slapped you said eat it, so you did.
Exactly. And many years later, in my early 20s, I was in therapy and we did anger work and the hot dog story came up. And my mother was a therapist and I called her in India and I said, "You know what? The hot dog story came up." She was like, "What hot dog story?" I'm like, "Let me tell you." And then I told her and I said, and it was Mrs. Deshpande. And you know what my mother said? "Yeah, she was always trouble. Her husband left her." I was like, she was not trouble.
Yeah.
This is not on Mrs. Deshpande.
Yeah.
She said, "So what's the point of your story?" I'm like, "That you slapped me." She said, "I thought you ate a meat." I'm like, "Yeah, but..." Fair. I kind of was stumped. I'm like, "Yeah, but..." Okay. She's like, "I thought you ate meat." And I'm like, "Well..." And literally I had nothing to say. Also, I don't think Mrs. Deshpande's character and her failed marriage needed to be brought in.
Yeah.
But mummy, she was
But it's that amazing ability to traverse. I remember getting a tap, let's say, for misbehaving. So it's sort of have you ever spoken about being hit in stand up?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah,
But it wasn't. Everyone was. It was
oh,
not
I
traumatic
know.
to me at all.
But it's very interesting to audiences who aren't familiar with it now. They're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, there's a whole thing I do, which I think I did it live at the Apollo, of the different kinds of different mothers from different parts of India will threaten to injure you in different ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, for us, it's like I always tell this story when people don't understand. Also, because when you're married to Scandinavians, for them, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, it's been illegal since
it's
like
abuse.
the 70s, isn't it?
But it's
Yeah.
not abuse. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not great. But if everyone is doing it, it's part of the cultural makeup. You can't do it here. It feels abusive. But, I mean, I always knew why, except maybe on the hot dog thing, I didn't really understand. But and I remember there was a girl who came to the convent and she had her front tooth was broken. And we were all talking about, I don't know why, I think because one of the other girls had got a proper pasting at home for getting bad marks in maths. And she was crying and we were all like, it'll be fine, and all this. And this girl said that she'd never been spanked or hit. And we all were like, "Oh, are you an orphan?" Like, we didn't understand how that's possible. She said, no, her mother didn't believe in it. And we were like, So I went home and told my mother. And she said, "Yes, I know her. She is divorced." And I was like, "What?" I didn't know what divorce was. I'd never heard of it before. So it was like, but I would never do it.
It's so funny. Yeah.
My mother smacked me after I had 3 kids in HSBC. And the guy got so scared, he jumped back behind the window.
Why did she slap you in HSBC?
But first of all,
did you have the wrong saving account? What?
No, she came to London, Christ. Now they've passed away, so it's okay. She came to London. In India at the time, you couldn't have foreign currency. It's not legal.
Right.
And if you do get to asking me about my next
will.
thing, then you will know that this story all comes together. She came with a plastic bag of cash, dollar cash.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is
She
this?
always brings something.
Yeah. And I said, what the hell is this? She said, it's a US dollar. I'm like, where did you get it? She said, it doesn't matter. Can you put it in a bank account for me? And I was like, can I put it in
She's
a bank
become a
account?
drug mule.
And I was like, can I put it in a bank account? She said, yeah, because your father will find out. And then, he screams and shouts. He has no patience. I was like, okay. Anyway, she was older. I was older. I had 3 kids. I was like, okay, I can't put it in a dollar account, but I can, okay. So part of that story was me having to open an HSBC account for foreign currency. And we were going, and I had to take identification. I had my passport.
Yeah.
And my mother said to me, you always forget things. Don't forget your passport. And I was like, I'll be fine. We did the thing. She was saying, can we go to Starbucks? I want Starbucks. She used to call it Starbucks. And I said, okay, we'll go. And I turned and I'd left my passport there. And she said, I told you will forget it. And the guy behind the glass jumped back and she looked at him and she said, are you going to call police now? She's a very stupid girl.
Yeah.
She took the passport. The guy was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I said to her, Ma, ye kar nahi sakte. You can't be smacking me in public.
I love that. But what's so wonderful about it is that you're so calm. You're like, my mother, you simply cannot do it. It's like an insignificant thing. Mother slapping an adult.
Yeah.
Is not
I said, kar nahi sakte, police aa jayegi, they'll call the police. I said, let them call. When I tell police, they will spit on you. Like, no.
What is the next thing? So you said this will link to it.
Smith & Wesson.
So, okay, which is a gun.
Which is a gun.
Right. So why is that one of your brilliant
Okay,
things?
so I want to say I've been dying to tell this story
Yes.
somehow.
Sure,
and
sure.
maybe it would have come into my stand-up, but I felt like your podcast, especially the title, what it really was the place. So
Okay.
basically, I was probably 12, and in India you have these big steel cupboards called Godreges,
Godrej.
and they're like, you keep, like many families have one, and you keep all your safe stuff in there.
Yeah.
And my mother used to have a Godrej, and it had a locker inside the Godrej, and it had a big key. Mm-hmm. And my mother and my sister would go in there, and they would look at the various jewelry for different weddings. And I was always banished from the room because I was very clumsy. And they would bring out something. I was 12, so it didn't matter. One time my sister, she'd left to go to university, so it was just me and my mom. And my mom was scared she lost a gold chain of hers, so she was very frantic. So she said, come in, close the door, lock the door, chitka nahi lagao, put the lock on the door, put out a big blanket, and let's start taking this jewelry out. So I find and she kept saying to me, don't lose anything, don't touch anything, and then saying, bring that down. She had this habit of saying, just shut up and tell me. So it's very confusing. And also with my mother, if you questioned or anything, you'd get a tight slap.
Yeah.
And I was actually very excited to be allowed to look at what's in the Godrej. So taking down all this stuff, she had all this jewelry, she had a list and she was looking at it. And at the back of the thing was like a shoebox. So this is why I always got into trouble, because I didn't know when to leave good alone. So I pulled out the shoebox and I sat on the side of her. She was busy. And I opened it and there was a gun in it. And I said, Mommy, ye kya hai? I said, what's this? She turned on. She said, Smith & Wesson. And I was like, oh. That's all I remember saying, Smith & Wesson. And I picked it up and I was like, it's very heavy. It was very cool. It was like the movies. And I said, very calmly, I said, Goliyan hai? Do you have the bullets? Without even turning, she went, Tsh. And I was like, how? Without even turning. She said, are you stupid? Who keeps gun without bullets? Of course. And I was like, oh. And then she said to me, but don't tell your father, he doesn't know. And I was like, oh. And then she said, put it away, you'll lose it. I said, but where are the bullets? She said, we don't keep it together because then dangerous things happen. Shut up, put it away. So I put it away, and as we were closing up the Godrej and she'd found her gold chain and everything, she looked at me and she said, listen to me. She said, abhi tum bahut choti ho. Right now you're very young. Aur ho bhi tum thodi buddhu, and as it is, you're quite stupid. But listen to me. Every woman needs 3 things in her life to secure her. She needs some land, she needs some gold, and she needs a gun. Samjhi? And I was like, okay. She said, and don't tell your father, lock it. And that was it. We never talked about it again. Wow. And I never told my dad.
Wow.
But she made me believe in that situation that there were ways that women had to look out for themselves. My dad was a fantastic man, great father. We had a good life. But ultimately, women have to look out for themselves with land, gold, and a gun.
So, do you think? Two questions. Where did your mum get the gun?
I asked her. She said, "Do you have a business? You go and mind it. So mind your own business." I asked her in my 20s.
Yeah. And do you think she ever fired it?
No. No, because remember, and she had a license. Guns with licenses in India are like currency. They're like, it's like the things she said, gold, land, and a gun. It's something you can always sell to secure yourself.
Right.
You said they passed now.
Yes.
Where's the gun?
I don't know, but she did show up with a bag of cash. Remember? I have a feeling.
That she flogged the
Yeah,
gun.
but I wouldn't. Well, no, she wouldn't have flogged it. It had a license, so she would have sold it with a license.
Yes.
But that's still a huge thing in India.
Or held up a bag?
And also, it was a Smith and Wesson. It wasn't an Indian gun. But that's what I remember saying, "Mommy, what is this?" And she's like, "Oh, Smith and Wesson," as if I was asking her the brand of the gun.
But
And my grandfather was a cop.
right.
My mother's family.
Oh, I see.
So I think she had fired guns in her life. But that Smith and Wesson, I think if you're a 12-year-old, you have a real gun, and they say, "What is this?" You say, "That is a gun." You don't give them the brand.
Yes. Yeah, but your mum is clearly a very interesting lady.
Yeah.
And I mean, did you give the eulogy? Who gave the?
We don't do eulogies.
You don't do eulogies. What?
Hindus, they pass away, we cremate them right away, and then we have like days of ceremonies. It's all about the soul passing. It's not about the person.
So there isn't like conversations about.
People talk about her.
At the?
There's not a one thing. It goes for days. So there's 13 days of mourning.
And within those 13 days, is it conversational? Are you talking about memories, or is it?
No, people come and go, and they bring you food because you don't light your own stove. So it's not formal.
I see.
And I was just. I was very, very close to my mom. So it was very, she had told me, "This will come and you got to be ready. Don't be stupid."
Yeah.
But I was, So no, and I had to do a lot of this stuff because my sister wasn't able to be there on the day. And so I had to do a lot of the stuff. No, it's all very religious / spiritual / ceremonies. And I think I was in a state of like, I knew it was going to happen, and I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Yeah.
Is there a comfort in being the fact that she feels so alive in the way that you tell me stories about her? Is that a kind of comfort when you've lost a parent? Just the fact that she feels like she's in the room
always,
and feels very interesting and really funny.
Yeah.
It must be something quite nice that she's always there, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know the flip, so I wouldn't know. But mommy's always lived in my head. And also, even now, if I'm scared, and, as you get older and your kids get older, they get more out in the world and you have fear for them. I'll try and remember, because my mother and I spoke about many things all the time. And she was always doing like her business, and then would suddenly give you a life lesson or say something. And you'd be like, oh, like I remember being very young. We hadn't even left the Philippines, so I wasn't even 11. And she used to cook for my father and for us, but mainly she liked to make what my father liked. And she would be cooking. She was cooking one day, and I was, I don't know, playing or whatever. And she turned to me and she said, "When I'm dead, my ashes must go to Ganges. Don't listen to your father. He will try and keep me in South India, and we don't want that. You will take me to Ganges?" I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Good."
And then carries on.
And then, and I don't know what made her think of it, but so we talked about a lot of things. And so now, if I'm scared of some things, even though they're not specific, if I close my eyes and think, "Yeah, Mom would have said it's going to be fine."
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did she ever see you do stand-up?
Yeah.
That must have been cool.
Yeah, she was the funny one at home. She came to a show I did that was filmed in India early years. It was just, I don't know how, and it was on TV. And they panned to her in the audience, and she was laughing. And I remember when I came off of there, because growing up, I got a lot of flack from her and my sister for talking too much. And my mother was like, you're like, don't talk so much. And then life. And then I was on stage. And when I came down, she said to me, Ek baat bataun beta, shall I tell you one thing? And I said, yes. She said, when you're with me, you're my daughter and you say so many things. And I think, my God, I can't die. She's too stupid. She won't manage. But then you walk from me up those stairs and you're on stage. And she said, you're a star. You're not my daughter. You're this person. You're a star and you're doing what you're here to do. You must never stop.
Oh.
And then when you come off stage again, I say, oh God, it's just her. That was a very big moment for me.
Yeah.
Because my mother...
Well, it strikes me, that's such a authentic compliment. And she clearly wasn't lying. She doesn't strike me as somebody that's going to go, hey, that was great, if it wasn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can imagine if you had a tough set, you probably wouldn't want your mum there.
Well,
like, do you know what I mean?
The only time my dad saw me do stand-up was with my mom, and I'd gone, it was early days, and it was in a restaurant in Delhi. And in those days, I used to go to India to gig because the kids could be with my parents.
Yeah.
And it was like they were serving food, they were doing this. I died. People were looking at their watches. And I was mortified. I mean, I'd only been doing stand-up for a year and a half. And as we were leaving, and it was a very fancy, not fancy, it was like a cool chain restaurant. And as we were leaving, my father looked at me and he said, I think some of your humor was too intellectual for the audience here. And as we were leaving the restaurant, my mother turned to him and she said, too intellectual? Are these people? And she turned, there were still people there. These people, these kodi kuttiyon ke, these poxy puppies of leprous bitches. They don't understand comedy. I spit on them. Pooh! And she spat on the threshold.
Wow.
And we left.
Okay.
So she sided with me.
Yes. So
But
she's like Charlie Murphy to your Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa. And my father was like, that's not very dignified. Krishna, don't behave like this.
I love her.
Yeah.
I love it. How different is it gigging in India to gigging in the UK?
At the time it was very different, but I haven't gigged for so long. I haven't been back to India to gig because I just haven't had the chance. But I think in
Sorry, go on.
No, in the early years it was different because stand-up was just starting to emerge. So a lot of gigs were in the middle of restaurants. They were like literally things that I would never have done here. Here you go to a comedy club. I went to a comedy club in Bombay and died on my ass because I spoke too much Hindi. They expected me to speak English. That's all evened itself out, I think.
Yeah.
And I look forward to being in India to gig.
I went to a comedy club in Mumbai. When would I have been there? 2016.
Yeah, so I was there in 14.
Right.
So it was still early days.
Yeah, and it was a comedy club in the mall, and it was so like a lot of it.
Laugh Factory.
It might have been that.
That's where I died.
Yeah.
It was in a mall.
But it was in Hindi and then punchlines in English.
Yeah.
I didn't understand a lot of it, but what I loved, I just went there to watch.
Yeah.
You could see the audience just.
Yeah.
It felt like, wow, this is fertile ground.
Because
it felt like
new.
the beginnings.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really wild.
Yeah, and now you have great comics who only gig in local languages.
Really?
Zakir Khan, Abhishek Upamanyu, Amit Tandon. I think Prashasti does it in both languages. I now gig when I have a huge South Asian audience. I'll take a poll and I'll do it in both languages because I think in both.
And how does that differ? When you're gigging in different languages, do you
different idiom?
Yeah, but is it kind of like piano and guitar? Do you see what I mean? Like, or does it? Do you write the set in that language? Okay,
I have a bit.
Yeah.
And if the audience is predominantly Indian, I can embellish that bit. I can start it in English, but I can take it down these little lanes in Hindi.
Yeah.
With references, with language. Language becomes very important. Literally the turn of phrase.
Yeah.
And that's a very technical thing, which I don't think of myself as a technical comic. And then you can bring it back there.
Yeah.
And I think that's because by being bilingual for a very large part of the population in India, not all, especially in urban centers, is not that uncommon. We have something called Hinglish, Hindi and English mixed. So, we have words like the opposite of postpone in India is prepone. you know. And like I say this to my kids, today I'll freak out. Yesterday I froke out. And they're like, no one says that. All of India says that.
Yeah.
So we have that thing.
What is your next brilliant thing?
Jump scaring your kids at home.
Okay, yeah, fine.
So good. So the reason I find this delightful is it's a very fun way to make it obvious to kids who's the boss. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially as they get older, because they do, especially in the West, they're teenagers, they think they know what's going on. Once they hit 18, the government tells them you're an adult, which is truly atrociously irresponsible of the government. Have you met an 18-year-old? I mean,
yeah,
don't do that to tell them they're adults. But anyway, so what you do is because you're just much better at stuff than them. Coming to sleep at night and you having waited 45 minutes under their bed, it is a great equalizer. They might know what AI is, but they will shit themselves when you put your hand out and hold their ankle.
Yeah, correct.
And that it's kind of the law of the jungle. Deep down inside, they're like, you know what? Push come to shove, she's the boss of me.
Yeah.
It's also super funny.
Of course it is. Yeah.
And I mean, they laugh. Then first they scream, then they laugh. Sometimes they pee,
of course,
which is hilarious. And it's just a way of staying connected with your kids that both teaches them a lesson and everyone's having a good time.
Yes.
I love it so much. I plan it. Now, my husband thinks...
Here's my question to you.
Yeah.
Have you ever been underneath one of their beds and you've forgotten that they're having a sleepover around a friend's house and had to skulk out? Has it ever gone badly?
They don't have those kinds of sleepovers.
Fine. So it always comes, like you plan it. Because 45 minutes under a bed.
It has been done. Or actually, it's behind the bed.
Behind the bed. Incredible.
Because the beds in our house, they're quite low.
Yeah.
Behind the bed.
Yeah.
And just lying there and waiting.
Just waiting, yeah.
And waiting. And, you know, your kid's probably 14, 15.
Yeah.
Pre-GCSE.
You've got to be in good shape. That's 45 minutes crouched.
No, you have your phone.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean? You're not just lying there thinking,
I don't know. You know,
and they
I'm
think
the
you're
mad one in this story.
No, and they think you're at a gig. You tell them bye.
Oh, I see.
And you shut the front door and then you come out.
Gotcha.
And you lie there with your phone. You wait. They've done their thing. They think they can sleep late because their mother's out. They get into bed. They have no fucking clue.
Yeah. You please tell me if they're boys that you scare them quickly.
Oh yeah, no.
Otherwise, if they get into bed and they're teenagers, no.
No. These are the girls, but the boys, what you do? Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
So bad.
Yeah.
No, but with the boy, also because my son scares. He doesn't like horror movies and all. The girls do, and I do.
Yeah.
So with him, it's more like.
Have you ever brushed your hair forward and done?
Yeah, or actually, just in his closet.
Yeah.
You just, sort of, and then he's just getting socks, and you're like, hey, and he's like, ah!
Yeah.
It is so joyful.
Commitment. It's
so good.
Yeah.
I love that. And the thing is, they laugh. And here's the thing, they do it to me.
Of course.
And I swear to God, huge respect when they actually get me.
Yeah.
Huge. But because they're my children, just before I jump out, I think this is going to be so hard on them. I feel a little bad, but not that bad. Now, this entire thing, my husband thinks, is absolutely insane on so many levels.
Well, he's not a scarer. He doesn't enjoy it.
No, he doesn't even get involved. He doesn't even sit in the room next to this shit. He's like, why are you doing this to the children? Who has this much time? What are you getting out of it? And I'm like, you will never understand.
Yeah, I mean, that's insane.
I once tried to scare him in Odeon. I hid behind a door and he came out of the bathroom, and as the door opened, but most people open the door like a normal person. He whacked it so hard, it slammed against me, and he kept on walking, and he's like, that's so fucking stupid. And I had the door pasted to my face. I was going to go boo. And then once he said boo to me, but he had to catch me. I almost fell backwards on the stairs. He still talks about that.
Yeah, I don't.
Danger, that's what he said. And I would have died.
I just don't trust people that don't do stuff like that. My friend Sam is the kind of, do you want a cup of tea? And then, honestly, no one does it better than him.
So good.
When someone...
It's so good.
And you feel the hot tea on you, even though there's none. You're like, no, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a bit like, when you go to a water park and you go down the flume, it's that same feeling of it's
so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
Like when your kids got dressed for a party and she'd come down to show you what you're wearing, and you're like, oh, that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they're like, Mom, why would you? And then they laugh.
Yeah.
You got to do that.
Yeah.
Listen, life, you got to be fun. You got to be funny. You got to not know what's coming around the corner.
Yeah, and those little, I don't know, like scaring your kids, whatever,
Yes, so
whatever makes them laugh. It's kind of. I've got a
And me
2-year-old
laugh.
son at the minute, so.
Oh,
I,
don't scare him.
oh no, I
That's
don't.
too little.
But what I like doing is so the big laugh we're getting at the minute is I will walk into the cupboard, and then
Oh.
my face will hit the cupboard,
And he
and then I
loves
turn to him and pull a face.
That's
It's
it.
the best.
Cindy, just from the benefit of your experience, can you let Russell know what age it is acceptable to start scaring his son?
Depends on the scare. You can go for little scares, but not at 2.
No, of course not.
No, I think not at 2. I think 4.
Yes.
4 is fine, but little scares. Like just little, not because the thing is if you start it too early then it's never going to be fun.
Oh, he loves being chased. So that I
Yeah,
think
that's good. And also so
Yeah.
he starts getting acclimatized to this idea that the parent can suddenly be scary.
Yeah.
By 6, do what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's very much. So I'll carry him up the stairs, and my wife will kind of chase him. Yeah,
So great.
That's,
Also
that's his
Halloween.
happy place.
Halloween's a great place.
Yep.
4 or
Good
5. Get
starter.
some big masks on.
Yes.
Get them off. And if they burst into tears and become hysterical, they'll get past it.
Yeah.
Of course, it's scary, but it's you.
Yeah, but the fascinating thing about kids is you never know what's going to calm them down, because it turns out the Hoover is a thing. He loves playing with the Hoover.
Calm.
Couldn't have seen that coming.
No.
Hoover.
we
And
love
then we go
that.
press the Hoover, put it on.
He loves that.
Yeah,
2 is a great age.
Yeah, it's
From 2 till 12.
and he's kind of going through a sleep regression at the minute, so he'll kind of wake up in the middle of the night, and then I was in with him last night, so I fell asleep by the cot, right, and my hand's like just tapping him. And I woke up this morning because he threw his water bottle on my face. You know, it was such a rude, like 6:30, whack, you're like, all right, we don't do that to Daddy, do we? And he's kind of laughing, and then he has a wee and we're having a chat.
We love that.
Yeah, lot of fun.
Falling asleep next to your toddler is one of the great joys.
In it, it's what do you know that it's so funny how quick it all goes, because that feeling, you know, when your baby's really little and you have to burp them, I miss that already. You know that feeling when you know when you get it right and you get the little tap, and then when you make your baby burp,
And
what a feeling that is.
and they're physically relieved. It's
And then all of a sudden they've no need for that.
No.
But you remember a time where you were just getting the circle right and just a little.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, but we carried on for longer. Like I still, for a long time, because we give the kids massages. We put oil in their hair. So I'm like my son, who's 24. I think last summer he was like, "Mom, can you put oil in my hair?" And I put oil in his hair. So you still get to like make him feel relaxed, and you massage it because it's very good for your hair.
Yeah.
Burp me, Mum.
No, but it's not the burping, but those tactile things that give your children physical comfort, and it's that you're touching them and you're doing their hair, or it's still a nice thing.
Oh yeah, it's the
lovely.
loveliest, isn't it? It's kind of my son has started saying, so if I'm doing a gig, I'll kind of FaceTime and say, I'm doing a gig tonight, and he go, good luck. Good luck. So, and it all takes all the kind of fear out
Completely, because when you go home, he's there.
Yeah.
I think people say to me, well, did you mind dying on stage? And in the early years, I'd be like, well, if I go home, there's 3 people who really are happy that I'm around, because they were little. Then it became, so it was like, I didn't care if the audience didn't like me because I had these kids. Now, thank God the audiences like me, because when I come home, these 3 are like, what the fuck are you doing?
What was it like for your husband to kind of see you go from kind of working in finance to a mum to, like your mum said, a star and doing stand-up? Was he, like, he must have been so surprised when because you said, oh, I'm just going out. But when you kind of fessed up, well, what was his reaction?
He was like, what? He was on the phone because I had to go somewhere with him out of town, and I was like, I can't go. I can't come. He was out of town. I said, why? I said, I'm in a final of a stand-up comedy company. He said, what? I said, I've been doing stand-up. And he was like, oh. But, they're very calm, Scandinavians. Yeah. So he was like, okay, well, we can talk about it when he was like, what's he going to say? Yeah. And then over the years, because you know how it is. When you do well, people are like, oh my God, you just showed up. But you've been working like a dog for years, going to Dirty Dicks and doing 5 minutes and all that stuff. All that time, he was very cool about it, because also it was at night. It didn't affect, It's like my life went on. I still picked up the kids.
Yeah.
But he was very like, oh, that's interesting. Like he was supportive without being very inquisitive.
Right,
Because
yeah.
I didn't really know what I would have said.
Yeah.
And then as it started, the Live at the Apollo, which was early for me, and it came the same year that I was nominated in Edinburgh for whatever Best Newcomer. It was like literally you understand what viral means.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was very grateful to have experienced that. He kept a tab on that a lot. He was like, oh my gosh. And then, you see, my husband and I, because we have an enormous amount of respect for each other. And I know that sounds so, but it really is. So we've never said to the other, you can't do this because it's like, so I think he just thought, right, we're going to have to make this adjust and work this thing. And he always has. And I think he's very, he always says to me, I could never do what you do. But I do think that deep down inside, I know that he really admires it, but he also holds me, like he's actually a bit like my mom. He's always like, don't be lazy. Because he's got this Wall Street mentality still.
Yeah.
So I think it works. He's sometimes the things I want to talk about, he's like, I don't think that's funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, not too bad.
Right, yeah.
Too bad. I think in the acting and stuff, when I was writing a show and it was quite explicit in some ways, I was very concerned. I was like, do you care about this? And he was like, it's a character. But that's the other thing about Danes. They're very liberal.
Yeah.
It was like, it's a character. If I'd been married to an Indian and had written a scene like that, they'd have been like, no.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a scene about a woman having a wet dream.
Yeah.
It was a great scene. But he was like, what's the character? It's not you.
Yeah, yeah.
He
That's
just
interesting.
doesn't. Yeah. I think there's a lot of mutual respect. And also, I think my husband understands that for many years I was at home and he was doing.
Yeah.
And he can kind of see that. Yeah. But he is very, like, he thinks it's very cool, some of the stuff.
Totally.
That, like, he's like, wow.
But yeah, it's just a fascinating, this like kind of, I don't know, within your relationships, just three really interesting acts.
Well,
of
exactly.
Just kind of like the work and then the family and then...
Exactly. And I think one of the reasons, like people say, oh, you talk about your marriage, you talk about your husband. I don't really talk about my husband. I talk about my marriage. I talk about him being Danish. I've known stand-ups to be much more open with personal details.
Yeah.
But the reason I won't do that is he didn't marry a stand-up.
Yes.
You see?
Yeah.
So late into my marriage, if I decide I'm going to be some kind of confessional, that's not fair.
Yeah, agreed.
He probably would have had he's a very private person.
Yes.
So my social media does not include my kids. It doesn't include him. I've never talked about his name. People may figure it out, but I never talk about it. It's never important to the story, including with the children. I'll say things like they call me bro, but I will never go into real detail, which I think some people can, and it could be very funny. No, it could be, and we all know comics who are much more, but I always feel my husband didn't marry a stand-up.
Yeah, it's a weird one, particularly with the kids, like you said, and also your husband, but it's that thing of like, at what cost? I always think, at what cost to thrust them into this world that they didn't ask to be in? And to be a kind of pawn or an addition to your brand, you think, ugh.
Yeah.
And it's gonna come with consequence at some stage because they're not equipped to suddenly be in this world, nor do they ask to be.
Yeah. If again, it works for some people,
Sure.
and I can see how you could have a lot of amazing stuff, not just for your brand, but for your creativity. And had I been even a writer, writing articles about my life, and my husband had married me, this guy had no clue. Like I was doing a PhD, then I was in finance, and so was he, and then suddenly I'm on stage. But I was much more open about my mother because I told her. I said, I'm going to say everything on stage. She said, good. You are only famous because I am funny.
Yeah.
So she didn't mind at all. But like there was a story about my sister that I wouldn't talk about until my father passed away. And that's when I put it in my special. Because it would have made him so sad that I told it in public. Hilarious story. But I just couldn't do that to him.
Yeah. It's been lovely. I've really enjoyed hanging out.
I've had a great time.
Yeah, fun. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful Sindhu Vee.